This video will be demonstrating the histology of the integumentary system. The two types of skin that we will be looking at are thick skin and thin skin. Remember that thick skin is only found on the soles of the feet and the palms of the hand, and then thin skin is everywhere else on the body. The regions that we'll be looking at are the epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. The dermis will see both the papillary layer and reticular layer. And remember that the hypodermis, while we consider it a region, is technically not part of the skin. It helps support the skin and connect it to the tissues underneath. We'll be looking for three different types of tissue: the stratified squamous epithelium, and because this is skin on the outside, it will be keratinized. We'll see dense irregular connective tissue and adipose tissue. Some of the features we'll see in the skin are sebaceous glands and sweat glands, hair follicles in the thin skin, as well as the erector pili muscles. And then we'll identify some epidermal ridges and dermal papillae. I'll be using slides from the Ohio State University Medical Center, University of Michigan Medical School, and Concordia College. So this is a slide at the Ohio State University Medical Center, and this is thick skin. I don't see any hair here. And we can see the regions. This dark purple at the top is your epidermis. All of this is the dermis, and then the adipose tissue underneath is the hypodermis. And as I magnify my epidermis, so the stratum basale, or your first layer, is this kind of cuboidal looking layer here. And then we have all of our layers. Then this really thick region here is going to be the stratum corneum, the cornified or keratinized portion of the skin. But all of that in this purple is the epidermis. In the dermis, it starts right here and goes all the way down to about here. And so I'm looking at dense, irregular connective tissue here. And then my hypodermis, I see lots of adipose tissue. Here I can also see some sweat glands. This sweat gland, I can see the coils, cuboidal cells, and I can see it coming all the way up. And if I would be able to follow it up all the way to the epidermal surface. Same thing with this sweat gland duct. There's another feature right here. These are called Pacinian corpuscles. These are two types of nerve endings or nerve receptors that are located in the skin. And to me, they almost look like fingerprint patterns that are located within the skin. Those are Pacinian corpuscles, sometimes called lamellated corpuscles. This slide here is from the University of Michigan Medical School, and this is skin of the scalp. And so this is going to be thin skin, and I see some hair follicles here. I still have an epidermis at the top, a dermis here, and then a lot of hypodermis, a large region of this adipose tissue underneath. And you notice as I magnify the epidermis, that stratum corneum on top is very thin as compared to the thick skin. I wanted to also show you the dermal papilla and epidermal ridges. Well, the epidermal ridges are the kind of these dark lines that are going kind of in this valley. All of these are the epidermal ridges. And then as part of the dermis that comes up to meet that ridge is the dermal papilla. So I've got an epidermal ridge and a dermal papilla coming up to meet it. Now here in the hair follicle area, I can see some sweat glands and sebaceous glands. So here's a hair follicle. There's actually a hair shaft growing out of this one. But associated with that is going to be a sebaceous gland. And then down here closer to the hypodermis, I can see a sweat gland. This structure here is called the erector pili muscle, and that's associated with every hair follicle, and when that contracts, it gives you goosebumps. I'm going to come over to this hair follicle. Still, I can see the hair follicle, and that was the hair papilla, kind of the ridge there. There's a sweat gland. Here's a sebaceous gland, and this is the erector pili muscle right there. So I can see all those structures on each one of these hair follicles. This last video, this last slide is much lighter, but I can see all of these same features. I can see a thin skin, so this is the keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. I can actually see that this layer here is the papillary layer, and then underneath it here is the reticular layer of the dermis. So I can actually see a different color in staining from this area to this area. The papillary layer is actually made up of areolar connective tissue, and then the reticular layer is made up of the dense irregular connective tissue. This is a hair follicle, and so I actually see several sebaceous glands associated with it. This is a sweat gland down here at the bottom, and then this structure here is the erector pili muscle. Same thing here. Here's a hair follicle, and then I've got sebaceous glands surrounding it, and a sweat gland kind of over to the side, and then there's the erector pili muscle right there. The reason this in the dermis is called the papillary layer is because it's the region that has those dermal papilla, those little peg-like structures that are coming up to meet the epidermal ridges of the epidermis. I hope this video helps you understand the histology of the integumentary system.